Well, the impact of this flood has been wide-ranging. Speaking of Minitonas, here's a look at the scene. It's about 18 kilometers east of Swan River. The municipality declared a state of emergency yesterday, and a boil water advisory remains in effect. All the roads in and out of the community are closed due to either flooding or washouts. As you can see, damage to the roads is extensive. Well, Ian McKay and his wife Teresa join us now, and they went through quite an ordeal. Ian, you were out attending to some family business, came back at 3 a.m. to discover the floodwaters were rising, and you had to rescue your wife. Tell us what happened.
Well, that is correct. I got home. My son had called me actually before that and said, he said, "Dad, you better come home. This is going to be really bad." And I thought he was maybe exaggerating a bit. And then I left home. Our little river is only about 15 feet wide. And when I got home, it was about 900 feet across. And so we had an excavator in the yard where I could get to, drove through water to get to it. And then I drove it back to our house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the water was deep, and drove it right to the house. And my wife was there, and she jumped on the side of it, and we drove back out to some high ground.
You're telling that story so calmly and so matter-of-factly as we look at some nighttime video of, I guess it's your house with the water quite high. Teresa, what was it like being on the other end of that rescue?
Well, just half an hour before that, I had looked out and I could see the water shining, the moon shining off the water. And I was thinking it wasn't a big deal. And I was actually talking to him on the phone when he was on his way home. And within 3 or 4 minutes, it honestly came up like 2 feet. It was right at my front door. And I could see some flower pots like floating past my front door. And I thought, well, I can open the door and just grab it, because the water wasn't even close to the door like a minute before that. And as soon as I opened the door, it just whooshed inside, because I was thinking I'd just stay here all night. I wasn't afraid to be here. I thought everything was fine. But when I noticed how the water had come right to the door, and it was starting to come under the door, and then I went to the garage and it was already way into the garage. The water was coming in. So when he said he was coming to get me, I was quite happy. Just hung on the side of it. He drives the excavator all winter in the bush, so it wasn't a big deal. I was a little nervous because I kept saying, "Are you sure you're on the road? Are you sure you're on the road? This is going to tip. I think this is going to tip." But whatever. You just have to trust.
Ian, if you hadn't had the excavator, what would you have done?
Probably got another big piece of equipment. We have a logging operation as well as a farm, and I would have had to go and find. That was the quickest one to find. Not moved quick, but it's like 35 ton or something, that machine. So it wasn't going to float away. So I was pretty confident if I could stay on the road, even though the water was about a meter deep, if I could stay on the road, I would not go in the ditch where it was, I don't know how deep, I could get there and get back without it floating away. So that's why I thought it was pretty easy to use.
Okay, let me put it another way. If you were kind of an ordinary family that didn't have a bunch of heavy equipment for a logging operation, how would you have tried to rescue Teresa?
I don't think there was any way that you could have got there. It was literally that violent of water coming through our property. The water was really running. I don't know how fast it was, but if you were whitewater rafting, it would have been pretty good. But it wasn't running where the river runs. It was running about 100 yards or 100 meters from the river is where it was really, really running violently, because it had jumped out of the riverbanks. And it was just a long ways in the dark. To be honest, I guess I was nervous, but I wasn't, I just knew I had to get there. I mean, what was my options, right? But if you or somebody else didn't have the equipment, you'd be in trouble. There was no doubt you would have been in trouble.
Teresa, I don't know if you guys are. I don't know. Like, so what's the state of your house now, Teresa?
It's not too good, because the mud, I thought if there'd be water, but the mud in the garage was about 4 or 5 inches deep, and all through the main floor. We're built on a slab. We don't have a basement, but there's like a half an inch of mud in all of it. We were just trying to lift things because we we're hoping to get a vac truck here tomorrow to help us clean up some of the mud, but it looks like a big job ahead. I don't know, like, because they'll probably have to tear some of the walls out, and I don't know, when you start trying to replace stuff, it's just more than I need to think about. If I was young, I might like it, because then I'd say, oh, well, I'm getting something new. But now I like what I have, and I'm just, whatever. I guess we'll do what we got to do, and we'll get the mud up from the floor, and we clean the sidewalk out front, and I think it'll be all right.
I mean, we're looking at some video now, and this is just the water so high, and then at times, probably video that was taken later of what looks like a road that's kind of been washed out and just muddy kind of gouges in what used to be the road. Ian, what's next for your? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was our front lawn. All that. We had quite a large yard. Expansive yard and fruit trees and spruce trees and pine trees and tamaracks and it's all gone. It's all gone. Hundreds of yards have gone. Thousands of meters of ground is gone. Our whole yard is gone.
On one side.
On one side, yeah. And so we're very fortunate. The house took it, the water, but the yard didn't. And That's to me is the saddest part about things. We've been here we moved into this house, built it in 1996 or 95, 96. And, the house we built in a year, but the yard we built over the last 30 years, and the yard is gone. So that's the part that's too bad.
Yeah, I feel so badly for you, although, of course, you guys putting it in perspective in terms of the house is still standing and both of you are safe. What about the rest of your community, Ian?
To be honest, I spent the morning helping, trying to get some roads prepared so that the hydro crews could come in and repair some poles, because I've got a lot of friends and neighbors that they've got no power. We were very fortunate. Our lights stayed on right through the entire ordeal. But they've got no fridges and deep freezes and refrigeration and lights, and so the guys are running generators, and so their pumps don't work, and it's a real problem for the community, and so kind of my heart was go out for them. We could function at least a bit while we were in this state, but they're more in need often than we were. We saw the brunt of the tragedy, kind of. The disaster, but our community, there's a lot of people in need, and there's an awful lot of people that are working really hard to try and help each other get some stability in their lives right now.
Well, I'm glad that you took the time to speak to our audience about this. You're both the picture of resourcefulness and resilience, and I'm sorry this has happened to you, and hopefully we can check back with you in a little bit of time to see how things are going. Ian and Teresa McKay are in Minitonas, Manitoba, dealing with, as we've seen, the aftermath of severe flooding. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.